Echoes of the past. Marcus had been aboard Zephyr's ship for nearly 2 weeks when he discovered the memory archives. He'd been exploring the corridors during what he'd dubbed his recreational confinement period, when a door appeared where he was certain there hadn't been one before. "I don't suppose this is off-limits," he asked the ever-present AI. "Your curiosity is as predictable as your species' tendency toward self-destruction," the AI responded. "The commander has not restricted access to this area." Taking that as permission, Marcus stepped through. The room beyond took his breath away. Crystalline spires rose from floor to ceiling, each one pulsing with soft, multicolored light. The air hummed with energy that made his skin tingle. At the center of the chamber stood a circular platform that seemed to beckon him forward. "What is this place?" "The memory archive," the AI replied, sounding almost reverent. "Where Arxians store echoes of significant moments." Marcus approached the platform cautiously. As his feet touched its surface, the room exploded with light and sound. Holographic scenes swirled around him, battles under alien skies, ceremonies in grand halls, quiet moments in gardens that defied earthly physics. And then he saw him. The figure was unmistakably Arxian, but smaller than Zephyr, with armor in shades of deep green rather than silver. What stopped Marcus cold was the face, the bone structure, the expression, even the way he carried himself. It was like looking in an alien mirror. "Who is that?" Marcus whispered. "Kyrix," said Zephyr's voice behind him. He hadn't heard her enter. "My former second-in-command. My partner." Marcus turned to find her standing in the doorway, her armor in its most minimal configuration, almost vulnerable. "He looks like me," Marcus said unnecessarily. "The resemblance is notable." Zephyr moved to join him on the platform. With a gesture, she isolated a single memory strand. The scene that unfolded showed Zephyr and Kyrix in what appeared to be a military planning room. They were arguing, or rather, Kyrix was arguing while Zephyr listened with crossed arms. "The Empire's expansion has cost us our soul," Kyrix was saying, his voice carrying the same harmonic translations Marcus heard from Zephyr. "We've become the very thing we once fought against." "And what would you have us do?" Past Zephyr demanded. "Abandon our security? Our future? I would have us remember who we were before fear made us conquerors." The memory shifted. Now they stood on a battlefield, Kyrix bleeding from multiple wounds, Zephyr cradling him. "You were right," she whispered in the memory. "About everything." "Then change it," Kyrix replied, his voice fading. "Find another way. Find someone who sees differently." The scene dissolved. Zephyr stood rigid beside Marcus, her 4 eyes fixed on empty space. "He died challenging the Empire's policies," she said quietly. "Labeled a traitor. I was ordered to hunt him down. Instead, I found myself fighting alongside him in his final battle." "I'm sorry," Marcus said, the words feeling inadequate. His last words haunted me. "Find someone who sees differently." I searched for years, studying other species, looking for a perspective that could break our cycle of violence. She turned to him. "Then I encountered your signal array. Your logs. Your ridiculous conversations with machinery. You were spying on my work logs. I was monitoring all Earth communications. Yours stood out. You solved problems by talking to them. By finding humor in malfunction. By treating technology as a conversation partner rather than a tool." Marcus felt his face heat. "Those logs weren't meant for public consumption. I was just thinking out loud." "Exactly." Zephyr's lower eyes crinkled, what he'd learned was her version of a smile. "You approach problems sideways. With empathy. With absurdity. Everything Arxian logic says is wrong, yet you succeed. So you kidnapped me because I talked to satellites. I recruited you because you represent everything my people have forgotten how to be." She gestured, and another memory played, Kyrix laughing at something off-screen, his whole being radiating joy. "We were like you once. Creative. Irreverent. Unafraid to be foolish in pursuit of wisdom." Marcus watched the laughing figure, understanding dawning. "You're not trying to replace him." "No. I'm trying to honor his vision. To find the path he saw but couldn't walk." She deactivated the memories, leaving them in the softly pulsing light of the archive. "I need someone who can think impossibly. Who can see solutions where Arxians see only walls." "And you think that's me?" A junior communications officer who once spent 3 days debugging a problem that turned out to be a sandwich stuck in a cooling vent. "Yes." Her certainty was absolute. "Because you didn't just remove the sandwich. You apologized to it first and thanked the vent for its patience." Marcus couldn't help but laugh. "You're serious." "Deadly." But there was warmth in her voice now. "The Empire faces a crisis it cannot solve with force or logic. We need a new approach." "Your approach? What kind of crisis?" Zephyra hesitated, then brought up a new display. It showed a star map with a growing void at its center, systems going dark one by one. "Something is consuming our territory. Not conquering, consuming. Erasing. Our weapons pass through it. Our science cannot explain it. Our strategies fail against it." Marcus studied the map, his communications training kicking in. "It looks like a signal dead zone. But that's impossible on this scale." "Exactly. Impossible." She watched him carefully. "What would you do?" "Well, first I'd try talking to it," Marcus said automatically, then caught himself. "That sounds ridiculous." "Does it? You talk to machines. Why not to cosmic anomalies?" He met her four-eyed gaze, seeing in it not just desperation but hope. "You really think my brand of weirdness can help?" "I think Kirix was right. Sometimes the answer isn't in strength or knowledge, but in being willing to approach the universe differently." She placed a hand on his shoulder, the first time she'd touched him deliberately. "Will you help me try?" Marcus looked at the star map, at the growing darkness that threatened an entire civilization. Then he looked at Zephyra, seeing past the armor and alien features to the person who'd lost everything trying to do what was right. "On one condition," he said. "Name it. Teach me to use this memory archive properly. If I'm going to help save your empire, I want to understand who you really are." "All of you." Zephyra's armor shifted, surprise, pleasure, something deeper. "That would be acceptable. Also, can we do something about the AI's personality? It keeps making comments about our biometric compatibility." "Your biometric compatibility is statistically improbable but theoretically feasible," the AI chimed in helpfully. Zephyra's lower eyes narrowed. "I'll adjust its parameters." As they left the archive together, Marcus felt the weight of what he'd agreed to. He was no longer just a captive or a curiosity. He was part of something larger, a desperate attempt to save a civilization by thinking impossibly. And somehow, that felt exactly right. "Hey Zephyra," he called as they walked. "Yes. Thank you. For trusting me with this." She paused, her armor rippling with colors he hadn't seen before. "Thank you for being worth trusting." In the soft glow of the corridor, with the memory of Kirix's laughter still echoing in his mind, Marcus realized he was no longer looking for a way home. He was already building something new, something unprecedented, with an alien warrior who saw in him what her own people had forgotten how to see. The impossible solution to an impossible problem might just be the beginning of something neither of them could have predicted. Breaking protocols. 3 months into his stay aboard Zephyra's ship, Marcus noticed the changes. Doors opened before he reached them. The food synthesizer started producing items that actually resembled Earth cuisine. Most tellingly, the AI's sarcasm had evolved from hostile to almost affectionate. "Your nutritional choices remain questionable," it announced one morning as Marcus selected something resembling a bagel, but your cognitive functions show marked improvement. Congratulations on becoming slightly less disappointing. Thanks, I think. Marcus took a bite and nearly choked. Wait, is this actual cream cheese? A biochemical approximation. The commander spent 47 hours perfecting the formula. Marcus stopped mid-chew. Zephyrah made this? She researched your dietary preferences extensively. I believe humans call this behavior thoughtful. I call it inefficient allocation of command resources. Before Marcus could process this information, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights pulsed in sync with his suddenly racing heart. What's happening? He demanded, dropping his breakfast. Proximity alert. Arxian Imperial vessels detected. Zephyrah burst into the mess hall, her armor fully deployed in combat configuration. Marcus, with me. Now. He followed her to the command deck, where holographic displays showed 3 sleek warships closing in. Imperial hunters, Zephyrah explained tersely. They found us. I thought you said we were in neutral space. We are. They don't care. Her fingers flew across the controls. They've been tracking us for weeks. I'd hoped to lose them in the Kelvar Nebula, but... The lead ship hailed them. A stern Arxian face appeared on screen, armor bearing the marks of high rank. Commander Zephyrah, the officer said coldly. By order of the Imperial throne, you are commanded to surrender yourself and your stolen vessel. Return the human specimen and submit to tribunal justice. Specimen? Marcus muttered. Rude. Zephyrah's posture remained rigid. This is neutral territory, General Vex. You have no authority here. Authority? Vex laughed harshly. You speak of authority after betraying your oath. After consorting with lesser species. Your execution order was signed the moment you chose that dead traitor over the Empire. Marcus felt Zephyrah tense beside him. Without thinking, he stepped forward. Hey, Chrome Dome, he called out. First off, lesser species is pretty rich coming from someone who can't figure out how to stop a cosmic void with all your superior technology. Second, maybe if you spent less time hunting your own people and more time actually solving problems, your empire wouldn't be imploding. Vex's 4 eyes narrowed. The human speaks. How quaint. Marcus, Zephyrah warned, but he was on a roll. You want to know what's really quaint? Your entire military doctrine. I've been studying your tactics for months now, and they're about as flexible as a steel rod. No wonder you can't handle anything that doesn't fit your predetermined battle plans. You dare. I dare because I'm right. Zephyrah isn't a traitor, she's the only one among you actually trying to save your civilization. But hey, if you want to execute the one person making progress, be my guest. I'm sure the void thing will wait patiently while you sort out your political drama. The transmission cut off abruptly. Zephyrah turned to him, all 4 eyes wide. You shouldn't have done that. Probably not. But someone needed to say it. Marcus grinned weakly. So, what's our escape plan? We don't have one. She turned back to the controls. The Defiance isn't equipped for combat against 3 heavy cruisers. The ship's name is Defiance. That's a bit on the nose, isn't it? Focus, Marcus. Right, sorry. Impending doom and all that. He studied the tactical display. What about the nebula? Could we lose them there? Too far. They'll overtake us before. She stopped, staring at something on her console. That's impossible. What? The ship's power core. It's reconfiguring itself. Adopting patterns I've never seen. The AI's voice came through, sounding almost excited. The human's cognitive patterns have been integrated into my learning matrix. I have extrapolated new defensive configurations based on his impossible thinking protocols. Marcus blinked. Wait, you've been learning from me? Your approach to problem solving, while initially appearing random and nonsensical, demonstrates quantum-level creativity. I have adapted these patterns to create new shield harmonics and engine modifications. Zephyr's fingers danced across the controls. This could work. But we need time to implement the changes. How much time? 10 minutes. The Imperial ships were closing fast. Marcus watched their approach, an idea forming. I need access to communications, he said suddenly. What are you planning? Something stupid. Trust me. Zephyra hesitated, then nodded. AI, give him access. Marcus took a deep breath and opened a channel to all 3 Imperial ships. Attention Arxian vessels, he announced in his best official voice. This is Communications Specialist Marcus Chen of Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Network. I am currently engaged in critical diplomatic negotiations with Commander Zephyr regarding the cosmic anomaly threatening your space. Any interference with these negotiations will be considered an act of aggression against Earth and its allies. He cut the channel before they could respond. Earth has no allies in this sector, Zephyr pointed out. They don't know that. Besides, I didn't specify which allies. Marcus watched the Imperial ships. They had slowed, presumably to discuss this new development. How's that reconfiguration coming? 7 minutes remaining. The lead ship hailed again. This time, a different officer appeared, older, with ornate armor suggesting political rather than military rank. Human, the figure said carefully, I am Arbiter Thyra of the Imperial Council. Explain your presence here. Marcus straightened, channeling every bureaucrat he'd ever met. Arbiter, I'm sure you're aware of the expanding anomaly in your space. Earth has been monitoring it for months. We've developed theoretical models that could lead to a solution, but we need Commander Zephyr's unique perspective to complete our research. The Commander is a fugitive. The Commander is a scientific asset. One you can't afford to waste. Marcus leaned forward. Ask yourself, what's more important? Political vengeance or the survival of your empire? Thyra's expression remained neutral, but Marcus caught the slight twitch of her lower eyes, uncertainty. For minutes, Zephyra whispered. Look, Marcus continued, I get it. She broke protocols. She defied orders. But she did it because your current approach isn't working. Sometimes you need someone willing to break the rules to find new solutions. And you believe you have these solutions? I believe we're closer than anyone else has gotten. Give us time to prove it. Thyra considered this. You speak well for a lesser species. Thanks. You make backhanded compliments well for a superior one. To his surprise, Thyra's lower eyes crinkled slightly. Very well. You have 1 cycle to present your findings to the Council. But Commander Zephyra remains under arrest pending review. Agreed, Zephyra said before Marcus could object. She cut the transmission and turned to him. That was reckless. But effective. And hey, we bought ourselves a cycle. Whatever that is. 30 of your days. She began powering down the new defensive systems. You realize what you've done? You've inserted yourself directly into Arxian politics. Seemed like the thing to do at the time. Marcus shrugged. Besides, someone needs to shake things up around here. Might as well be the Chaos Monkey from Earth. Zephyra stared at him for a long moment, then did something he'd never seen, she laughed. Not the restrained sound he'd heard before, but full, genuine laughter that made her armor ripple with colors. What's so funny? You. Us. This impossible situation. She shook her head. Kyrix would have liked you. Yeah. He always said the universe favors the bold and the foolish in equal measure. You appear to be both. I'll take that as a compliment. It was intended as one. She moved closer, her armor shifting to a softer configuration. Thank you, Marcus. For defending me. For believing in this mission. Well, someone has to keep you from getting executed. Apparently, that's my job now. Apparently so. Her upper eyes met his while her lower pair studied his face with increasing intensity. I find myself grateful for your presence. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Then the AI chimed in. Sexual tension levels approaching critical. Shall I prepare the mating chamber? AI, they both shouted simultaneously. My apologies. I thought we were being honest about our feelings now. Zephyr's armor flushed deep purple, definitely the Arxian equivalent of a blush. I should prepare for our meeting with the council. Right. Yes. Preparation. Important stuff. As she left the command deck, Marcus slumped into a chair, his heart still racing for more than just their narrow escape. You know, he said to the AI, sometimes your timing really sucks. On the contrary, it replied smugly, my timing is impeccable. You're both just emotionally constipated. Marcus couldn't argue with that. But as he watched the Imperial ships maintaining their escort formation, he realized something had fundamentally shifted. He was no longer just along for the ride. He was actively shaping the course of events, standing between Zephyra and those who would destroy her. The Chaos Monkey from Earth had found his purpose, and he was going to make sure the Arxian Empire never knew what hit it.